Kia ora, hello and welcome. My name is Bruce and I'm joined by Lisa on this walkthrough webcast on the proposed amendments to the auditing standard for audits of less complex entities, or ISA for LCE. This consultation covers two matters. The first relates to the New Zealand specific amendments to support the use of controls reports as audit evidence in the audit of a less complex entity. The second relates to the international proposals to maintain the standard following recent revisions to the auditing standards. The standard recognises that a LCE may use a service organisation and that auditors may use controls reports to obtain an understanding of the entity's system of internal control. However, when an auditor wants to rely on those controls reports as audit evidence, the current standard does not include all the relevant requirements needed to support that approach. This reflects the view taken during the development of the international standard that reliance on controls reports as audit evidence would not typically arise in the audit of a less complex entity. Based on our recent engagement with the New Zealand stakeholders, auditors considering the standard told us that in some circumstances, they do rely on controls reports as audit evidence when auditing less complex entities. So, because the current standard does not fully support that practice, we are proposing targeted New Zealand-specific amendments that would enable auditors to use Type 1 or Type 2 controls reports from service organisations as audit evidence in certain circumstances. And these are set out in the exposure draft. We're proposing that these amendments apply for periods beginning on or after 1 March 2026. So please share your views on whether the proposed amendments are needed in New Zealand and whether you consider the proposals are appropriately scoped and proportionate for our circumstances.
The second part of our consultation is different. It asks for your views on proposals developed internationally to keep the ISA for less complex entities aligned with recent changes to the auditing standards. Your feedback will help shape the External Reporting Board's submission to the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, IAASB, and our later decisions on New Zealand adoption. The IAASB is committed to maintaining the ISA for less complex entities to ensure that it continues to provide a basis for obtaining reasonable assurance as the audit environment evolves and the full ISAs are updated. The IAASB is proposing targeted updates for less complex entities following recent amendments to the following auditing standards. ISA 240, the auditing standard for fraud, ISA 570, going concern, and narrow scope amendments around listed entities and the use of experts to improve the interoperability of the ISIS and the Code of Ethics. The IAASB's aim is to keep the ISA for less complex entities current while preserving its proportionate nature given the typical nature and circumstances of a less complex entity. Two key proposals to highlight include, on fraud, proposals to strengthen the auditor's response to the risks of material misstatement of fraud. The proposals explore a proportionate response to the presumption of risk of material misstatement due to fraud in revenue, given the context and nature of revenue streams for less complex entities. And ongoing concern, proposals to strengthen the auditor's evaluation of management's going concern assessment. These proposals have a different application date to the New Zealand proposals and are not expected to be applicable before the 15th of December 2028. We plan to adopt the international amendments once finalised, and we seek your views on the proposals and whether there is a need to amend anything for the New Zealand context. For more information on the consultation, join Bruce and I on a virtual deep dive on September the 4th at 12 p.m. And the consultation closes on the 25th of September 2026. Thank you and mā te wā.